For the British monarch, faith isn't just a private affair. It's actually a constitutional requirement. But for King Charles III, this ancient duty is sparking a very modern crisis. It's a conflict that's really being fueled by whispers, by perception, and by a single profound question. Can the crown actually survive the 21st century? In that crisis, it's led some people to ask a question that was once completely unthinkable. Now, I know it sounds provocative, but this idea is rooted in a pretty serious constitutional debate. Can the king really reconcile his personal vision with his sacred institutional role? To figure that out, we first have to understand the sheer weight of that role itself. All right, to get what's at stake here, we have to look at the very foundation of the monarch's power. And this isn't just about dusty old traditions. We're talking about constitutional law and an oath that has defined the crown for centuries. That title, Defender of the Faith, it isn't just for show, it's basically a constitutional job description. Ever since Henry VIII broke with Rome, the British monarch has also been the supreme governor of the Church of England. It's not just an affiliation, it is their constitutional identity. And this, right here, is where the controversy around King Charles really kicks off. While, claims about his personal faith are just that, claims, unsubstantiated, they shine a huge spotlight on a much deeper tension, this clash between a role forged in history and the king's much more modern way of looking at it. And that tension has found a voice. Traditionalists, like the author of this open letter, are arguing that the king's duty here is completely non-negotiable. The message is crystal clear. This title isn't a suggestion, it's a binding contract with the nation and with the church. A lot of the criticism really just boils down to perception. Critics, like the late Queen's former chaplain, Gavin Ashenden, they point to things like a public message for Ramadan, while at the same time staying silent at Easter. For them, it's not about finding hard proof, it's all about the signals being sent. They see the scales tipping away from his sworn duty, and they worry that in his attempt to be a king for everyone, he's failing to be the defender of one specific faith. But of course, there's another side to this whole story. The king's actions aren't just happening in a vacuum. They're actually part of a long-standing vision he has for monarchy that reflects the world as it is right now. For years, long before he was even king, Charles was a huge champion of interfaith dialogue. His deep interest in things like Islamic scholarship and comparative religion, it's all very well documented. So his supporters, they don't see this as ambiguity. They see it as necessary statesmanship in our globalized world. And this brings the challenge into really sharp focus. The Britain that King Charles reigns over today is profoundly different from the 16th century nation where his role was first defined. Today, it's a multi-faith, multicultural society. And a monarch who only speaks for one part of that society, they risk appearing completely out of touch with the very people they're supposed to serve. So here's the crucial point. We have a collision. You've got two powerful and frankly legitimate ideas about what the crown should be, and they're facing off. And the king, he's caught right in the middle of it. When you boil it all down, this is the conflict. On one side, you have that constitutionally defined role as the custodian of the Anglican faith. But on the other, you have the reality of leading a diverse, modern nation that demands inclusion. So the real question is, how can one person possibly be both? Now, this is not the first time a monarch's personal beliefs have clashed with the duties of the crown. And history? It offers a very stark cautionary tale about what happens when the institution gets challenged. Back in 1936, King Edward VIII wanted to marry a divorcee. The problem was, the Church of England, which, remember, he was the head of, forbade it. He was forced to choose the woman he loved or the throne. He chose love, abdicated the throne, and in doing so, set a hugely powerful precedent. And the lesson from that crisis has echoed down through the decades. It's this: the monarch serves the crown. The crown does not serve the monarch. The institution is always, always greater than the individual who wears the title. And this is the heavy expectation that King Charles inherited. But the pressures that King Charles is facing are different from those that his great-uncle faced. The battle for the monarchy's soul is no longer fought in palaces or in parliament. It's fought in a very different arena. See, today, the most potent force is perception. Legitimacy isn't just granted by law anymore. It's shaped by the stories we tell, by the narratives that take hold. The court of public opinion is now permanently in session. And here's how that works in our social media age. Authority is completely fractured. A perception, maybe just a whisper, gets repeated enough times through retweets and comments, and it hardens into a belief. And for a lot of people, that belief starts to function as undisputed fact, whether it's actually true or not. So all of this brings us right back to the central dilemma, a fundamental paradox that sits at the very heart of the modern British crown. And it's a challenge with no easy answer. This is the incredible tightrope that King Charles has to walk. If he leans too far one way, let's say strongly affirming his role as defender of only the Anglican faith, he risks alienating millions of people in his own multicultural kingdom. But if he leans the other way and embraces all faiths equally, he risks diluting the very constitutional role that gives him his crown in the first place. It's a real catch-22. And so, we end right where we began. In a world where a powerful story can be just as decisive as a law, the future of the monarchy really depends on solving this puzzle. The ultimate test for the crown isn't just about survival anymore, it's about identity. Can it adapt to a new world without becoming something else entirely?